behind literally these mountains of phosphate production byproduct, and so the public's been left with handling the cleanup and instead water runoff from that. So I'm interested to know about that. I just know that's everything I know about it. But Cody's going to be talking about money and happiness. So let's start off with talking about the different roles. So Jules is going to be handling the grammarian role. You want to explain that role for us, Jules?
As a grammarian, I'm responsible for noting any errors in speech, filler words, and also noting how many times the word of the day is used. Today, the word of the day is pejorative. I might need to check myself on that one. But it means expressing contempt or disapproval. Pejorative.
Okay.
Pejorative. I got it. Not okay.
And Thomas is going to be handling the general evaluator role. Thomas, will explain that.
Yeah, so I will be doing the evaluation of the meeting as a whole, whether things started on time, ended on time, as well as controlling the evaluation portion of our meeting.
And Hugh Wing, I understand you're going to be handling the timer role.
The timer, speaker speech, and reminder that time.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's start with our first speech. Luke's going to be talking about Mississippi phosphate.
Okay, and how many minutes is that speech?
That speech is 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right, just 1 second. Take the podium down so you guys can see the screen here.
Selected.
Okay.
Lectern.
Okay, and let me know when the lights turn down.
I think that'll be okay.
Oh,
You can
okay.
see the screen pretty good?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, good evening, fellow Toastmaster members. So tonight, we'll be giving a presentation on the Mississippi phosphate case that my unit in the Coast Guard, the Gold Strike team, is currently conducting. So Mississippi Phosphate Company is located at 601 Industrial Road in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The picture to your left is just a picture of the site when it was up and running fully. It is closed now. And the picture to your right is just where it's at, located southeast of Pascagoula, right on the waterway there. So a little bit about company description. So the Mississippi Phosphate Company is a major U.S. producer and marketeer of diammonium phosphate, or DAP. It's the most widely used phosphate fertilizer. The production facilities are located right on a deep water channel, right on the Gulf of Mexico, so there's immediate access to the water from these facilities. On site, you have 02 sulfuric acid plants, phosphoric acid plant, and a DAP granulation plant. So what you need to know about this slide here, company closure, you can pay attention to October 14th. So Mississippi Phosphate Company filed for bankruptcy protection, which ultimately led to the liquidation of the company in October 2014. In December 2014, the company ceased production of this fertilizer, but left behind the byproduct, which is gypsum, and it has other contaminants in those as well. So case description, so we have 750 million gallons of wastewater stored on this site at a low pH, so that is a corrosive, and it cannot be discharged into the environment. So these pollutants pose a threat to the surrounding surface water and bodies and ecosystems due to the high nutrient loading and the chemical oxygen demands. This bullet right here is good to pay attention to. So the average annual precipitation on site is approximately 66 inches per year, or 594 million gallons. So 1 inch of rainfall equals 9 millions of gallons of wastewater that needs to be treated. So when the rain comes down, it's hitting these gypsum stacks. All that water is now contaminated. It needs to be treated, and that's what we're doing here. So let's go over a little area familiarization. So you have, like I said, gypsum is the byproduct of this fertilizer production process. There are 2 gypsum stacks on site. You have the east stack and then the west stack. The west stack, which here at the bottom, you can see it's earth covered there. this is minimal operations happening here, but you still have to do a little bit of water treatment out here. The east stack is uncapped at the top. It's the main side of the treatment ops. So this gypsum on site contains phosphorus, fluorine, and nitrogen at very high levels. So when it's raining, all this wastewater is starting to have all these high levels of corrosives, and that's what we're treating here. So this is an overview of the east stack. So at the top left, you have the in situ pond, which runs around the outside. The in situ pond is basically where they're treating this water. You got levee 1 and a levee 2 with a pipe running through so the water can naturally flow towards the effluent pond. The effluent pond just means discharging area. So you have your ponds 5, 3, and 4, and then your water return ditch that goes around. So any water that hits this and runs off is kept caught in the water return ditch and is able to be pumped around and be treated. This is the west stack. So you notice it's capped and earth-covered gypsum stack. So there's gypsum underneath here, but it's away from the water and the elements, and that's the ultimate goal of the east stack. You have your old treatment ponds. I'm about to go over these 4 with you guys more in detail, but you got the pH adjustment area, the S pond, wastewater treatment plant, and then you have the discharge out to the bayou. So the wastewater treatment plant, there's 6 tanks here. They're clarifying tanks, and they treat this contaminated water with lime slurry and polymer. So polymer is added here at the clarifying tanks to help speed up the process to allow this phosphorus and fluorine to dissipate. They also add the lime slurry here, and it brings the pH levels up to 11.3 to 12.3 and higher to allow the nitrogen to dissipate. So this is the S pond. So from the clarifying tanks, it moves to the S pond. So the purpose of this, it's a holding pond to allow the nitrogen to dissipate before heading to the pH adjustment basin. And throughout this pond here, and this is the flow of water, there are aerators, and the aerators help bubble up the water and help the nitrogen to dissipate faster. So the pH adjustment basin, so the water is coming in, like I said, at a very high pH. We can't pump that out at 11.3 to 12.3 and higher. So at the pH adjustment basin, you're adding sulfuric acid to this water, which drops the pH back down to a permitted level of 6.0 to 9.0, and that's a neutral, that's around neutral, 7 is neutral, and we're allowed to pump that out into the bayou. So here you can see your sulfuric acid distributing rod, these metal rods, and it's actually pouring sulfuric acid down into the water. You have your pH meters that are on these live rings, and that's basically measuring the pH as that water flows through there. And those rods are adjusting how much sulfuric acid they're putting in there, and then from here it's getting discharged out into the bayou. So we'll go over the water treatment operations on the east stack. So I know there's a lot of words on this slide. I'm just going to briefly go over it with you. I hope it's not too confusing. So contaminated water from pond 6 gets pumped to the beginning of the in situ pond. At the beginning of the situ pond, lime slurry is added. The phosphorus, fluorine, and nitrogen slowly and naturally come out of solution with that. As it flows down towards levee 1, goes through down to levee 2. When it hits levee 2, they pump it back to the very beginning of the in situ pond, and it makes one more loop through levee 1, through levee 2, and down into the effluent pond. When it gets to the effluent pond, they're taking samples and making sure it's in these permitted levels. And then from the effluent pond, they're pumping it over to the pH adjustment basin. So this is kind of for the entire site. So like I said, they're still doing minimal ops on the west stack, but from the east stack, you can see the water comes from the east stack on my blue arrow, gets pumped to the west stack. It follows the outside water return ditch, and then they pump it over to the wastewater treatment plant where they're adding the polymer and the lime slurry. It goes to the S pond where the nitrogen is dissipating out. Then they bring it to the pH adjustment basin where they're lowering the pH back down to a neutral to environmentally permitted level. And then it's getting pumped out into the bayou from there. So these are just additional pictures of the site because we just looked at a bunch of overviews, so now we'll actually look at pictures of the site so you can kind of see what we're looking at here. So this is the beginning of the in situ pond. So this is pond 6. You can see the pipe right here, so water naturally flows through the pipe, where it gets pumped in. All this white stuff is lime slurry, and the water flows down towards levee 1. So this is levee 1 right here. You can see it's just earth-covered levee there. You got a pipe right in the center. The water naturally flows through that pipe into the next section of the in situ pond towards levee 2. So this is the east stack. So you have your in situ pond, pond 6. At the next bluff here, you have pond 5, and then a higher bluff, you have ponds 3 and 4. So here's ponds 3 and 4, and so this is all gypsum right here. This is not dirt. I mean, you're driving on the gypsum right now, and it's really hard. And it looks like literal lakes up on top of the stack there. This is a picture of them excavating in the in situ pond. They do this just to help stir up the lime slurry a little bit, help kind of push that water towards the pumps and then the levees. Picture of the west stack. So this is earth-covered west stack that I was talking about. This is a mound of gypsum, but it is covered in cap now. And these are the old treatment ponds right in front of it. This is at the pH basin. So this is the water coming from the S pond, and it comes into the pH basin with the blue arrow, and it goes through the sulfuric acid rods and gets the pH meters, and then it gets discharged out to the bayou via this pipe here. This is a sulfuric acid holding tank at the pH adjustment basin, and so just right behind you is that basin, and this is just the main tank that holds the bulk of the acid. This is a picture of the S pond I was telling you about. You can see the aerators here. So the water gets pumped in through here. There is lime slurry in this as well, and also the aerators all throughout this pond help that nitrogen dissipate. This is an example of the piping throughout the site, and so you see this all over the place in the east stack and the west stack. And this piping carries the environmental stormwater, which is the contaminated water, the non-contact water, which is the water that's not contaminated, but they still use it on site to help treat the contaminated water. And it also carries the lime slurry to certain areas. So you need pumps to pump through those piping. So these are examples of pumps that you'll see around the site. You notice they have wheels. They're quite large pumps, especially, I mean, those things, some of those pipes are really big in diameter, and they're pumping miles and miles long. So these are easy to pull around, and the contractors can take them and place them where they need. This is a picture of just some wildlife. There is a lot of snakes out there. I've seen probably 10, 12 different alligators. Might have been the same one, but you just see them all over the place. This guy's actually down in some lime slurry here, and you got a water moccasin crossing the road. This is the test plot of grass on the east stack. So all this is gypsum. This is all the byproduct of that fertilizer. They're doing a test plot of grass on here because they're just trying to get, the ultimate goal is to have the east stack capped and earth covered, just like the west stack. So this is basically just a test plot of grass to see how everything's moving along. That's the end of the presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
First of all, the first question I have is, what is your group's purpose there? I mean, you gave us an overview of everything that's going on, but we don't know what you're doing.
So the Coast Guard's there as just a federal representative. The EPA's running the site. We're there supplementing the EPA. Our main job out there is site safety and contract oversight. So what does that mean? That means that we attend the safety briefs. The EPA, we're more the eyes and the ears for the EPA out in the field. So during the day, we're making rounds of the entire site. We're stopping, talking with the workers. We're taking pictures. We're updating them with the progress of what's going on. We're making sure that they got the right hearing protection on, and just to make sure the environment is safe for them to work in.
Okay.
How long is the process supposed to take?
I've been asking that question myself, and this is going to be, like I was speaking with Justin before the meeting here, this is going to be years in the making, and this is going to be a long time. How long will we be out there? I'm not too sure, but right now we already have funding to stay out there through the rest of the year. So that this could definitely be a long-term project for the Coast Guard. Any more questions?
Is there any testing done to make sure you're collecting all the runoff and that nothing's actually running off and you're getting untreated water that's going into the
That's
body?
going out. They have ditches dug around the entire thing, so Pond 6 would have been totally cleaned out, but they had to take that money and make this big containment pond pretty much around everything. And there's containments beyond that containment. And if it overflows, they have these massive caustic tanks that they would just dump into the water. So as it's going out, it's just going to lower that pH. So it would hopefully not hurt the environment going out like it is now.
What is the level above, how high above sea level are these? The next hurricane Katrina comes through with 15-foot storm surge?
Oh, yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but they are already with this, if you guys have been seeing that the storm's coming this week, they're already upping the pumping level and everything because they're really worried about the amount of rainfall. They're already going through the emergency procedures of the overspill and spillway, and things are already in motion just to try to minimize that impact. All right, that's it. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Toastmaster.
That's great. So, having grown up on the coast there and spent a lot of time in sand, fishing, and spending time on the water there, it was really interesting to get a chance to hear what's going on with that. And if you've ever been out there, to the east is a really wild area. I mean, around there, you mentioned the water moccasins, alligators, there's eagles, there's osprey. The area to the east is a wildlife reserve, and the whole southern part of Hilltop County is really quite a wilderness. There's a lot of fishing in the area, there's oyster farming going on, so really sensitive area, and I'm glad that that's being looked after. So next, Cody's going to be talking about money in your happiness.
Mark, you still with us?
Yes, yes I am.
Okay, all right.
Can you buy happiness? The age-old question that I'm sure some of you have pondered in your lifetime. To answer no to this question, it's comforting for people who don't have a lot of money because they can assume that if they amass wealth, that it would lead to an unhappy life. But to answer yes to this question is comforting for the people who have a lot because it justifies all the hard work and effort they put into getting this amount of money and thus them being happier than the people without money. I don't think there's really a right answer to this question. However, in the book Happy Money by Elizabeth Dunn and Michael Norton, they did some research and they found 5 areas where you can increase your happiness when dealing with your finances. These areas that they discovered through research were buying time, giving your money away, buying experiences, paying ahead for things, and making things a treat. How can you buy time, you might be asking? Well, I'm not going to try to sell you a hot tub time machine or introduce you to a time travel professor and his DeLorean. I want you to think about areas of your life that you really don't like to do. So maybe it's mowing the grass or things like taking out the trash and doing chores. If you have the ability to pay somebody to outsource these things, you would free up some time. So now I know not everybody dislikes mowing the grass, but think of the areas that if you could outsource and get some of your time back, what would you do with that time? You relax, go to the beach, spend more time with your family. This is how you can use money to buy time and thus increase happiness. Now, everyone loves giving their money away, right? Okay, lost you up on that one. But think of the last time you did give some money. Maybe it was $1 to a homeless guy, or you helped out your neighbor or friend that was in a tough situation. You think back to those moments, you maybe extract a little joy from that. And so these moments of giving can create lasting memories and happiness that extend for years. So next time you're thinking about, should I buy something for myself, or maybe I can save this money and use it for a better cause. Now I'm faced with a dilemma. I can buy a brand new boat of my dreams, or I can take a trip sailing around the Mediterranean for 2 weeks with 5 of my friends. So if I get the boat, I'm gonna have a great time. I'm really excited when I get it, drive it off the lot. It's fun, but months go by, right? The boat has an issue. I get my first note in, pay the bill on it, and the happiness that I had with the boat slowly starts to diminish. Now, on the other hand, if I took a trip, I built a lot of experiences with my friends, and I can take these experiences for the rest of my life, right? I can think back on these memories, and over time, I think with the experiences, you extract a lot more joy than buying things. I know from experience that going to a concert or some kind of event, the concession stands, the souvenirs, they're expensive. So by the end of it, you felt like you've been robbed, right? You paid $10 for a drink, $20 for some food, you try to buy a shirt at the end, it's $50. And you're not really all that happy when you think about how much money you spent on the event. So the next time you think about doing an event, maybe you could pay ahead for things, right? You get the pain of paying for it out of the way. And then it's almost like it's free. As you attend the concert, you go to the concession stand, like, yeah, here's a Coke. You don't have to pay anything. Oh, wow, that's great. So that's how cruise ships, they use that to increase your happiness on the trip. You pay for everything ahead of time, and then it's almost like you're getting a free lobster, even though you paid for it. Everyone has a favorite treat, right? Mine's warm, gooey, chocolate chip cookies, fresh out of the oven. Now, if I ate these every day, I would get tired of them, right? I would get sick. They would be like eating vegetables because I'm forced to get a chocolate chip cookie every meal. Same with your Starbucks coffee. First time you had that frappuccino or cappuccino, it was wonderful. And then every morning you pick it up and it becomes part of your routine, and you get just angry when they're slow at getting your Starbucks order. So the key to your indulgences and things you really like is you have to make them a treat. You have to reduce the amount of times you're eating chocolate chip cookie or getting Starbucks. Maybe you make a couple Folgers every morning, and then on Fridays you get the Starbucks. So making things a treat can increase happiness on things you really love. Now you've seen some ways you tweak your spending to increase your overall joy in life. So just remember, next time you pull out the checkbook or your wallet, to buy experiences, buy time, give some of that money away, pay ahead for things, and treat yourself. Mr. Toastmaster.
That was great advice. One thing we're talking about boats and the expensive boats. Owning a boat, maintaining a boat, really expensive thing to do. I love spending time out in the water though, so find people with boats. They love to have people who go out on boats, so you use other people's boats. Get a kayak. There's so many people on kayaks now. It's a real low-cost way of really getting out and enjoying water. So, okay, so table topics. Did we have someone who wanted to handle table topics for today? If not, I've got the list here, so I'll just go right into that. Okay, Ewing, what life lesson did you learn the hard way? What life lesson did you learn the hard way?
English. English. My life. It's a hard. It's hard. It's hard way. Means. So your question means to which one is hard for me, right?
Yes, a life lesson that was difficult for you. What did you learn the hard way?
I think English.
Yes.
Because I came here, I have to use this language. So I have to learn a long time, but I don't know why. Just improve very slowly. So I take every opportunity to improve my English. For example, I go to at first I come to here and just go to American church because they told me in church you can learn English by free. And I also take that class in USA. And also I even take care of the kids. I bring the kids to the Chinese church and I tell him, you have to speak English, no Chinese. So I think, but I still think it's very hard to speak very good English.
So I've got a former coworker who had the opposite experience. He went from the United States to China, and he lived there for 6 years. And he married a Chinese woman, and he initially started taking classes for Mandarin, and he ultimately just gave it up. He just said, it's too difficult. I'm not going to be able to learn this. And he just made people deal with his English the whole time. So, very challenging to pick up a new language. Very American. Okay. Thomas, if you had to teach something, what would you teach?
I've actually thought about this question quite a bit. In my process of becoming a civil engineer for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, I debated on a lot of different majors. I majored in 6 different things inside 3 years. Every semester was a new major, as my wife puts it. And many of them were geared towards education, actually, including history and mathematics, physics, chemistry. Of all of those things that I was preparing myself to become a teacher of, the one I probably would end up teaching is physics or one of the very hard sciences, because those kept me interested in spite of the fact that they were very difficult at times. And so that's probably where I would end up if I had my complete and total choice. Most likely, though, I would probably end up being a math teacher, because what I do on a daily basis requires me to actually have kept those skills sharper than my physics and biologies and chemistry skills. So I'll probably end up, if I quit my job today to become a teacher, I'd be a math teacher. So, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, I'd like to address this one to our guest. I know you can absolutely handle this. If you could live the next 24 hours and then erase it and start over just once, what would you do?
Can you repeat one more time?
Sure. If you could live the next 24 hours and then erase that and start over just once, what would you do?
Good evening, everyone. What would I do? I've been told what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I probably would start in Vegas, or perhaps I'll start somewhere further. What would I do? I would do everything. However, I couldn't possibly tell you what I'm going to do for 2 reasons. The first reason is I can't tell what happens in Vegas. Secondly, I probably wouldn't remember what I've done because I've done so much in such a short period of time. Probably after I leave Vegas, what other taboo place can I think of? I would probably go to Amsterdam for a little while. And I'd probably go to a few carnivals. And I would probably, lastly, and this is also erasable, believe it or not, I would visit old co-workers and old friends and everyone who called themselves a friend and everyone who ever expected anything out of me. I want to see them and smile at them and say thank you for being you and giving me this opportunity to have this day to look in your face and smile and move on and erase it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
evaluation we'll get to at the end. Our first evaluator who evaluated Lou Green's speech on Mississippi phosphate and the conditions there and how difficult it is to deal with. We have Heather Tripp.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. So Luke's speech was titled Mississippi Phosphate. For whether or not the speech was interesting, I said it was satisfactory. Was the technical material suitable? Yes, it was excellent. Was the main message stated? Satisfactory. Points and support data contribute to understanding of main message? Excellent. Material presented clearly and concisely? Excellent. Did the delivery enhance the presentation? Satisfactory. So, a good strength that I identified with your speech was that you really demonstrated that you were very knowledgeable about the subject. You had a lot of facts and a lot of information and a lot of stuff to back it up. There were a few questions. One was by Lawrence asking about the purpose of the Coast Guard plate in the Mississippi phosphate thing, and you said that it was about site safety and making sure that the working conditions were safe, like that they had proper hearing safety as an example. So I thought it was good that you could answer that pretty effectively, and all the other questions were answered really effectively as well. I think that something you could improve on is to make sure that the purpose is clear, like from the beginning. I don't know about everybody else. I know Justin was really interested in this topic, but I don't know a lot about the Mississippi phosphate, so if you could level with me and kind of make it clear and really understandable so that I would know what it is exactly and what the main message is about, then I think that would make this speech better, because some people can be unfamiliar with it, but you're still really knowledgeable about it, and I think that's the more important part. So, as far as everything else, I think it was a really good speech, and it was very detailed, and I think that was your biggest strength in this. Body language was good. I think you did give a lot of eye contact, and it was a good speech, and you were really knowledgeable, so good job.
I thought it was a good speech too. I really enjoyed learning how intricate all of the steps were and how you had to do them in this order to make it play out right. I'm science geek, so very much up my alley. Our next evaluator will be Lawrence. He will be evaluating Cody Broussard's speech on money and our happiness.
This actually was a little bit difficult for me to do this evaluation, because I kind of feel like you missed the point. Because you had one source of information, and that was it, and you didn't really cite that source very much. This was researcher topic. So I'm not going to go into that part of the speech. I'm just going to evaluate the speech as a speech, because I do think that the research part could have been presented better. Okay, I think he did a very good job on this speech. I really feel that he did well. I think the topic itself really fit this environment, and pretty much could have fit any environment, because everyone wants to be happy. I learned many, many years ago that the purpose of life is joy, and to find joy, oftentimes, you do have to sacrifice other things. So one way of sacrificing it is to buy somebody else's time in order to free up your time. And I think that's a really, really good topic all the way around. What could he have done better? The one absolutely glaring thing to me that he could have done better was to slow down just a little bit. Because one of the things that I noticed is you would ask questions, but you didn't give us time to ponder the answer before you gave us some other piece of information, or you answered what you would have done in that situation. So the pregnant pause, so to speak, is a really valuable tool to learn when you are speaking. All in all, it was very good. I think that it was a good topic. I think that the format of the speech was correct. He did a very good job introduction, and the body covered what he introduced, and the conclusion was also very good. And so I really think it was a good speech all in all, Mr. Topic Master, or Mr. General Evaluator.
Okay, we'll now have the timer's report brought to us by Elaine.
Speaker Luke, your speech very attracted me, so I forgot. So 11 minutes. Oh, no, I just. And the second speaker, Cody, is 5 minutes 30 seconds. And the table topic, I'm use 1 minute 25 seconds. Thomas use 1 minute 50 minutes. And our guest is 1 minute 15 seconds. And the moderator had the third use 2 minutes 24 seconds. Louis used 2 minutes 30 seconds.
Thank you, Yu Ying. And our grammarian report by Julie.
Cody had 3 you knows, was a filler. Justin had a 1 you know. Luke had a double hand and a few arms. Thomas had a 2 ends. And I mispronounced the word of the day, pejorative, but nobody used the word of the day.
Thank you, Julius. For the general evaluation of the meeting, we started on time and then had a 7-minute recess as we finished filling roles and tried to work out some technical difficulties so Mark could be more present in the meeting. After the 7-minute recess, we began with our pledge and business, where we elected Heather to be our secretary for the next term. We had 2 what I thought really good speeches that I did not even notice how long the speeches had gone until Yu Ying had told us that they were as long as they were. So I always think that's great, and I really did enjoy. I actually took notes because they were such interesting topics, and I'm not always the best note taker for these speeches. The evaluation portion went well. We got through that, and I thought some good points were made for both improvement and what we're doing well to continue to build upon. With that, I turn the time back over to our Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Maurice, do we have a general, excuse me, an education overview for this evening?
Just a brief educational overview.
Thank you.
For educational overview, just a few brief things. First thing is Toastmaster magazine. Even if you don't read the articles, I would encourage you, and myself too, to just at least just go through it and look at the articles, the titles of the articles, because some of them may catch your eye to where you'll get more interested in reading it. I mean, for me personally, all these are just stacking up in my house, and I know I could do a lot more with it. The second point, to piggyback off of Lawrence's evaluation of Cody's speech, is when we prepare our speech, this includes myself to become more focused on the objectives, all the objectives of that particular speech. And that's a good point that he brought up. So those 2 things, the Toastmaster magazine, and then when we prepare our speech, just be more focused on the objectives of the speech.
All right, thank you for that, Maurice. So I'm sorry, from here, should I hand this back over to the president, or we want to conclude the meeting from here?
You can turn it over. I mean,
Okay.
sorry for the relinquish lecture to
Yes.
the president.
So great meeting, everybody. I'm going to relinquish the lectern over to Maurice. I'm not going to turn it over to conclude the meeting.
Okay, there are no awards tonight, although we have at least 3 people who are approaching, within 3 speeches of approaching their competent communicator. Do we have an agenda for next week? Oh, you didn't bring your...
It is, I do have it. Yes, I have an agenda. All I'm missing on my agenda is speakers. Do we have any speakers that I might have gotten mixed up with some people who asked for a speech next week, and I didn't, somehow didn't get it in, but I don't remember exactly whether that happened. But I don't have anybody on right now that I have as a speaker. So is there anyone who has a speech that they would like to do next week?
I'll prep my visual aid and I'll speak next week.
You want to do one too? Wow.
'Cause that's
Awesome, good. Okay, so we have Heather and
Probably didn't say one.
yeah, you two guys are racing each other through this thing, which is good. I have no problem with that. I think it's a good thing, and I'm sorry, this thing is probably older than some of you people here, so it's a little slow. Are you gonna get online and put in what speech? Okay, please do that. I'd appreciate it. And otherwise, if this thing will be so kind as to. Oh, good, there we are. Next meeting. Okay, on June 26th, we will meet again here for our next opportunity. I just got a thing from David. He's not going to be coming for a little bit, so I put him also in inactive members, so he won't show up on these things. All right, right now I have no speakers yet. I'll put those in as we get to them. General evaluator. Ewing? Okay, good. I'll have her there. I have Thomas as the first evaluator. That will change. Cody as second evaluator. Maurice, you can be the grammarian. Justin, could you be the table topics master?
Sure.
Okay, timer, we might have to change that. I don't know what happened to Jennifer. Do you know if Jennifer plans on coming back or not?
She is. I talked to her the other day when I saw her at work, but she's
Okay.
just busy right now.
And Heather is going to be our toast mistress of the day.
She's speaking now.
Okay? You're going to change, we'll change that because you're now going to be the speaker. So we will change that. All right?
Okay. Thank
So
you.
those two, I will change the Toastmaster and the evaluator so that we have good speakers.
I can be the Toastmaster.
Oh, good, good. All right, we'll put you as Toastmaster. That'll work.
I'll just email you. I'm on duty, so I could get sent out, but I'll email you as soon as I know.
Okay,
Right now, I'll be in.
I'll pencil you in, and that is our schedule for next week. If we don't get flooded out, washed out by the storm, we'll be all good.
Supposed to pass that.
Nothing but a thing.
Okay. Okay, before we adjourn the meeting, I'd like to thank Marlo for her, paying us a visit again. Are you in Mobile permanently now?
Yes, I'll be here for a while.
Oh,
Here
just for a
till
while.
September, I think.
Oh, okay.
September?
Okay, all right. All right, so until next week, this meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone